Okay, we're going to start the meeting. Let's call to order the Narragansett Town Council regular meeting, December 19th, 2022, today at 7:30. First, let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Let's all stand. Okay. We're going to start with the disclosure of executive session votes from December 19th, the meeting we had earlier at 5:30. There was a motion to exit executive session and reconvene an open session. Motion made by Deb, seconded by Jill. Vote for 0. Would anyone like to make a motion to seal the minutes of the December 19th, 2022 executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Okay, motion made by Counselor Lawler, seconded by Counselor Kopech. Motion passed 4 with 1 abstention. Next is for organizational actions. Motion to appoint town council members to serve on the following committees as in accordance with town ordinances, town charter, and town resolutions. Do I have a motion?
I'll move the motion.
I'll second.
Okay, so I will go over these appointments. So the Affordable Housing Trust Collaborative will be Counselor Cicilline Buonanno. Capital Reserves Committee will be myself and Counselor Ferrandi. The Coastal Access Improvement Committee will be Counselor Kopech. The Economic Development Committee will be Counselor Lawler. The Finance Committee will be Counselor Ferrandi. The Galilee Advisory Committee will be myself. Galilee Lease Advisory Committee will be myself. And then for the Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Awareness Committee will be Counselor Cicilline Buonanno. Knights of Rockingham Arch will be Counselor Lawler. Land Conservancy Trust will be Counselor Kopech and myself. Narragansett Housing Authority will be Counselor Ferrandi. The Narragansett South Kingstown Senior Advisory Committee will be Counselor Ferrandi. The Personal Appeal Board will be Counselor Ferrandi. The Recreation Advisory Board will be Counselor Lawler. School Committee Liaisons will be Counselor Kopech and Counselor Lawler. The School Capital Reserves Committee will be Counselor Lawler and myself. And then the Sewer Policy Committee will be Counselor Ferrandi and myself. And then the Towers Committee will be Counselor Kopech and Counselor Cicilline Buonanno.
What was that one? The last one?
Towers. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion made by Counselor Cicilline Buonanno, seconded by Counselor Lawler. Motion passes 5-0. Next, we're going to move on to the approval of the minutes. The first one is the November 21st regular meeting.
I'll move the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion made
Aye.
by... Okay. Motion made by Counselor Cicilline Buonanno, seconded by Counselor Lawler. The motion passes 5-0. Next is the approval of minutes for the November 29th work session. Have a motion?
I'll move the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Motioned by Counselor Cicilline Buonanno, seconded by Counselor Lawler. Motion passes 5-0. Next, we will turn to the town manager's update for announcements and presentations.
Good evening, members of the council, the public, and those of you watching at home. A
A few things to update. You may notice down in Galilee, you'll see some dredging activity down there. The U.S. Corps of Army Engineers has begun some dredging at Point Judith over by the bulkheads, where the docking areas and the bulkheads are. They'll be doing that for a while. COVID, we have 2 staff members out due to it, and there's test kits available for anyone that's here tonight if you need them. Plastic bag ban. It takes effect January 1st, and complaints for the plastic bag ordinance violation will be reported to our recycling coordinator, who will investigate them, and if they are substantiated, they'll be turned over to our code enforcement. It has been shared with the media, social media, town website. Our recycling coordinator has also made visits to many of the larger retailers and provided additional notice to a person that we actually know that signed for the item, so they're aware of it. The Narragansett Community Electricity Aggregation Plan timeline. There will be some more updates coming up at the beginning, the first few months of next year. The Good Energy has not established what the final rate that they are going to negotiate is, and until that is done, we won't be making any notifications. Once that is known, the council plans to have some public sessions, work sessions, where people can be informed about it. The Narragansett's Crisis Intervention Award. I'm pleased to announce that the police department has a crisis intervention team in place through Thunder Mist Health of South County. And I'm pleased to inform that I was informed last week that the CIT International has awarded the silver certification for our Washington County Crisis Intervention Team program. We're thrilled that we're able to recognize the strength of this programming in Washington County. They work hand in hand with our police department, and their partnership with the police department is invaluable. And I thank those who participate in the crisis intervention team and Chief Corrigan for supporting this program and pushing it through to keep it active with funding. Some of the funding comes from our opioid crisis and others from appropriations. And it's a great program because we all know many of the calls that the public safety are getting these days are related to mental health and substance abuse. So this program is invaluable for our community, and it's already showing that. The police department graduated 2 new recruits. Police Officer Walter Anderson and Jordan Zanni graduated from the Rhode Island Municipal Police Training Academy on Friday, and they started work today. Fire department, they graduated a firefighter, Richard Dormer. He graduated on Friday, and he started today. This week, I authored a letter to the governor's office, the Office of Management and Budget, and Rhode Island DEM, regarding some disrepair at Monahan's Dock that's causing some issues with public safety response there for rescues. It's a little bit more complicated than it seems, but I've been speaking to DEM about it, and the governor's office is now aware of it, and we'll be following up on that soon. The advertisements for solicitor, assistant solicitor, and municipal court judge was directed by the council that they be advertised. The advertisements were placed in the South County Independent, Narragansett Times, Rhode Island Bar Association, Rhode Island League of Cities and Towns, Rhode Island Division of Labor and Training, and Indeed. And the deadline for that is Wednesday, the 4th of January at 4:30. Tomorrow there's a presentation at Town Hall. It's not a town council presentation. It's the presentation from the group that's doing the Galilee Resilience Planning, which is posted up here behind me. It'll be held here at Town Hall tomorrow from 5 to 7 p.m. It will be live streamed, and the link is on the town website under the news flash. And that's all for now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that update. Okay, next we have a proclamation recognizing Richard Bourbonnais. Whereas Richard J. Bourbonnais has always expressed his commitment to his community by sharing his time and talents. And whereas Richard Bourbonnais has started his service to the town of Narragansett on the zoning board, resigning in 1986. And whereas Richard J. Bourbonnais has served on the Tax Assessment Board of Revenue from 1992 to 2004. And whereas Richard J. Bourbonnais has served as town sergeant from 1996 to 1999, resigning to take a position with the URI Police Department to further his involvement in the community. Richard served again as town sergeant from 2002 to 2008. And whereas Richard J. Bourbonnais had served on the Board of Canvassers since 2012, resigning after the 2022 election. Richard had most recently served as chair on the Board of Canvassers and upheld the election process with the utmost integrity. Now, therefore, we, the Town Council of the Town of Narragansett, do hereby extend our sincere appreciation and thanks to Richard J. Bourbonnais for his distinguished service to the community and highly commend him for the manner in which he carried out his responsibilities. Signed and sealed this 19th day of December 2022. Yep. At this time, we'll recess for 5 minutes so we can take photos, and I will come down to present you with the proclamation. This time, we'll resume our meeting. Next up, since there is no public hearings tonight, we can move on to the open forum public comment. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak tonight? Ms. Alberto?
Catherine Celebrato, 48 Earls Court. Over a year ago, I submitted a package to the town council. It had a petition signed by my neighbors asking for no through truck signs on Earls Court. With that petition, I submitted a package of photos, tractor trailer trucks, dump trucks, septic trucks, you name it, it comes up and down Earls Court, including landscaping trucks with those large trailers attached. It's really a danger. We do have, believe it or not, 6 kids who wait at the bus stop at the corner of Earls and Noble. And I would really like some action taken on this matter. I don't know why nothing's been done. Second, it's no secret that I followed the Matthew Riley case. I've been to the pension board hearings. I wrote to the judge. And I know the Supreme Court sent the case back to us. And the solicitor sent me an email that it's in their hands. I want to say there's absolutely nothing about this case that shouldn't be before the public. If the solicitors are negotiating with Mr. Riley's attorneys, then there's absolutely no reason why we shouldn't be there, and it shouldn't be full and open to everybody. That's about it for now. Thanks.
Anyone else? Dr. Alba?
Dr. Al Alba, 24 Eagles Nest Terrace, Narragansett, Rhode Island. I recently sent an email to all of our government agencies and our elected leaders, including everyone on the Narragansett Town Council, stating hurricanes and tornadoes are now having devastating consequences across the United States and throughout the world. There is no doubt about the devastating effects of global warming. We can think of these events as an omen or foreboding for things to come to hit our state of Rhode Island as a result of climate change. There is a chance Galilee can someday be underwater or suffer some traumatic events due to the storm surges, tornadoes, or hurricanes which can hit us. The town of Narragansett believes this is such a critical issue that at the last town council decided to fund the project that was recently completed by the University of Rhode Island. Dr. Will Green is a leading expert in the area of research and development that will mitigate the consequences of the devastating effects of global warming and rising waters. In his last presentation, his class of students came up with creative ideas for solutions for Galilee. Sadly, since the last research study, very little has been done based on the researchers' prior recommendations. The town did put forth a viable plan, and even if it wasn't in complete agreement with the RIDEM, at least they should have called us back onto the drawing table to make some modifications based on the research, which we utilized. It is our hope his research will not fall on deaf ears again, but we as a state will implement many of his class's recommendations that will be discussed tomorrow. I therefore hope that one or more of you can call our news agencies, the governor's office, and tell them to come here tomorrow, our representatives, our senators. Our representatives, we just newly elected our representatives. Some of them got reelected. So let's encourage them to partake and participate because we have to stay unified. I also it's noted that our governor has millions of dollars to invest in the infrastructure of Galilee. So please, let's tell him utilize that money based on this research which is going to be discussed. And I want to thank the town, our town manager, everyone who's involved in bringing this together tomorrow. It is that important. So thank you all for that. And I would also like to add that the Lighthouse Inn needs to be inspected to determine if any of it can be salvaged or if it needs to be demolished, as it can be considered an environmental hazard as well. And it also has been an economic drain for the entire Port of Galilee. Please, let's follow through with this. The RIDM has been difficult at times, but I think if we stand united, we can beat this and win. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Oh, Mr. Lynch?
Dennis Lynch, Central Street, Narragansett. So I have a copy of the most recent lawsuit against the town. This is not the other lawsuits. This is a brand-new one for unrelated. And just reading the lawsuit, you can get some interesting information from it. So this time, instead of 2,100 suing, there were 6 individual parties who own property in Narragansett suing. One individual lives in Cumberland, Rhode Island. One lives in Charleston, Rhode Island. One lives in Madison, Connecticut. One lives in Millis, Massachusetts. One lives in Hingham, Massachusetts. And if you think we have high property values, stay away from Hingham. That's a doozy. And then the sixth party lives, well, is listed in Narragansett with a suite at the Mariner Square. So, I mean, that's pretty interesting that 5 out of 6 of the parties don't live in town. It's like 84% of the parties don't live in town, which actually isn't off too much from our entire database of rental registrations, where 78% of the landlords don't live in town. And of course, their properties, they have to have more than 4 people in them to be party to this. So, you know, one party has 6 people in 3 bedrooms. One party has 5 people in 4 bedrooms. One party has 6 people in 6 bedrooms, and another party has 8 people in 8 bedrooms. So these are big-time investment properties. And if we didn't know that we were, you know, in a battle with an unregulated industry before, we really need to realize that we're in it now. And I'm actually glad we have the lawsuit filed against us, because it means that we're actually enforcing the 4 unrelated. And I'd like to take my hat off, tip of the cap, to Wayne, the building inspector, and to David Green, the rental building director and rental inspector, David Green, because these fellows are actually out enforcing an ordinance that's on the books. And so I applaud them for that. I hope they continue to do that, because anybody can file a lawsuit. We know that, right? And especially if your economic interests are at risk, you're going to sue no matter what the consequence. And so we need to be in this for the long run. We need to put our heads down and enforce the ordinances on the books. We can have a perfect ordinance, and people are still going to sue us, but we have to get some control over this industry that has never really been controlled in Narragansett before. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak? Seeing no more. Let's move on to consent agenda. Are there any council members who would like to remove any items from the consent agenda? If not, can I get a
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion by Councilor Cicilline Bonanno, seconded by Councilor Lawler. The motion passes 5-0. Next on the order is old business. It's a motion to reappoint one individual to the Tax Assessment Board of Review. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
I have a nomination to reappoint Johnny Shields.
Are there any other nominations?
I have a nomination to appoint John Ball.
Discussion?
So Johnny Shields is the chair of the committee. He missed one meeting. We did do a check. He missed one of the meetings. He's been on there. It would be his last term, so he's asking for reappointment, so I support that reappointment based on the rules of the boards and commissions.
Councilor Law? Any other discussion?
I think Steve has.
Council.
I also looked into the attendance record too, and that was just for 1 year. And I did confirm this with Sarah, the town clerk today, and she informed me that was just for the past 1 year. If you take the total term of that applicant's time, he had 7 vacancies and 16 meetings, which is about a 44% vacancy rate that they missed out on the meeting.
He did? Or somebody on the board?
I believe it was him. I mean, Sarah, if you could confirm
Yeah.
that, Sarah?
Because we had asked for that.
It was, the numbers he's giving you are specific to John Shield
So beyond.
for the term from when he was appointed in November of 2019 through
Oh,
now.
2019, okay.
Yeah. So, and I did speak with John Ball. He's got a...
David Ball,
it- It's John, I believe, John C. Ball. That's the name that I see on the application, Susan. Anyways, I did speak with John Ball, and he's got a very extensive resume in finance and, you know, kind of numbers, that kind of thing. And he's lived in town for the last 4 or 5 years, lived in several different neighborhoods, and he's very interested in serving. So I think this would be a good committee for him to get, you know, get his feet wet on.
So instead of voting somebody down, just want to hear from everybody, because I'll take my nomination away or reappointment. I'm just curious what the council's thinking.
I don't know either of these people, but one of the things that I do know is that typically what we've done in the past, which doesn't mean we have to continue to do it, but typically what we've done in the past is if somebody had completed the so-called first time around, and they wanted to stay on, we've allowed them to stay on unless they had something really egregious. I don't know the reasons why he missed meetings over the, you know, in previous years, but this past year there was one, and it was a very excusable reason. So, I mean, I'd like to just continue along the way that we're doing it. I have not heard anything negative about his actual work on that board. So that's where I stand.
So I have heard nothing negative about his work either, and I actually know him personally. He's a very good man, but he's just been on for an extremely long time. So if we have people that are willing to serve, that are looking to serve, I would go ahead and agree with Steve on this one.
Yeah, I don't know, Mr. Shell, I do know John Ball. So I think when we do look at attendance, I think that's something new that we've been doing. Based on that, I think I would prefer to go with somebody who would be on, you know, attendance record. But I can go either way. So with that being said, we just need a consensus, and I think we just need to amend the motion to either appoint or reappoint. So somebody want to make them either withdraw the...
Can I just make one other
Like to
point? I'm
what?
sorry. Go
Excuse
ahead.
me?
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I'd like to amend the motion to appoint John C. Ball to the Tax Assessors Review Board.
I'll second that.
I just wanted to say something else first. I don't know, I'm not sure whether we're
Sorry.
in the right place here, but I just want to make that point again, that, you know, we did, in the previous council, because we had to realign the entire boards, committees, and commissions process, what we felt was fair at that time was to count their current position as their first term. And since there is a term limit of 2, that we would, you know, like I said, unless there was something egregious, we would continue with that same individual, both for continuity's sake and also, you know, because there had been, what was it, a 12-year gap or a 10-year gap between between the term limit process happening and when we actually finally instituted it to completion. So I just want to make that point.
Yeah, I'm going to stay with that consistent theory. I think it's important, so
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay, so we have 2, I guess we have to vote on 2, so we have to, so nobody's withdrawing the
You have your
name.
motion, so you can go with, you have 3 people, right? So go with that, right?
Right, the motion was amended by Steve.
Yeah, so
I
you
amended
have,
the motion.
So you can vote on that.
Okay, so motion to amend, so we're going to amend the motion to appoint John Ball. Do I have a motion? You made the
So
motion, right?
Yep, we already, so it's a vote time.
Somebody has to second it.
I did.
yeah, they already
Okay.
did.
It's already been seconded, I believe.
Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Okay, so that motion passes. It was motion made by Councilor Ferranzi, seconded by Councilor Lawler. So motion passes. Do we need to go, Sarah, do we need to go to the original motion? Do I need to go back, or is that good? Okay. So motion passes 3-2 for John Ball's appointment.
Eva, can I just say one thing about maybe in the future appointments? I don't know if it's appropriate time, but is it possible to get the whole record of the term
It's right on-
involved?
it's-
The next time?
It's right in the system. Oh, you mean the record in terms of their,
Yeah,
Absences.
for the whole duration. I know that email went out, but it was just for the past year. It didn't take the whole record into consideration.
I mean, the other point there is that we had no idea why those absences happened.
I
It could have been
understand.
perfectly legitimate reasons, so.
But
That's fine.
Sarah, to Steve's question, there's an annual report that's submitted by the boards and commissions, and that we have access to that, so you can see every month.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So moving on to new business, motion number 9, a motion to approve the 5-year lease agreement with Utility Associates to expend the first year's funds for 31 body-worn cameras and associated equipment for the police department with a total of 5-year cost of the program at $234,730, broken down to $54,250 the first year and $45,120 each of the next 4 years. Do I have a motion?
I'll move the motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Any discussion? Any discussion from the public?
Catherine Celebrato, 48 Earls Court. We're getting a grant for this, correct? This is a grant? All right, okay, just wanted to make sure. Thanks.
Anyone else from the public? Seeing no more comments, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion by Councilor Cicilline Bonanno, seconded by Councilor Lawler. Motion passes 5-0.
Excuse me, from item 10, I'm going to recuse myself and move away.
Okay, so the next agenda item is a motion to award the bid for the beach portable soft frozen beverage concession at the town beach to the sole bidder, Dell's Vaughn LLC, doing business as Dell's Lemonade of South County, at the annual quoted payment to the town of $35,000 for a 5-year period. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Discussion?
I just want to make sure that it's clear to everybody that this is $35,000 that we actually get from the vendor for this particular concession.
And there was only one bid.
Yeah.
And it's up
Yeah.
$1,000 from last time.
Right. So,
Councilor Ferrandi?
Could I just have
Because I like
some
those.
questions on the lease itself? I know if Michelle can come up, maybe I can ask a few questions on it, because I was present at the last meeting, I guess it was back earlier in the May or June, when this came up. And, okay. Thank you, Michelle. The question I have is that, first off, it was unclear if there was an ownership change, or if this is how should I say it, a contract with an original owner that the new person has taken over back in June or May, whatever it was.
That is correct, sir. There was a change in ownership from Michael Cummings to Emily Bonanno. Ms. Bonanno finished out the contract, and that contract ended,
That one ended,
at
okay.
Labor Day, or on Labor Day. And sir, if I could I have a little history regarding the contract itself. It may be able to assist you on making a determination. In August of 2012, the town solicited for the first time ever a frozen beverage concession at the beach. Prior to that, we only had a food concession at the beach. In 2012, the town executed a 5-year contract from 2013 to 2017. Then in 2017, the town asked the council to approve an additional 3-year extension onto that original contract. Additionally, there was an amendment that was made at that particular meeting, which added an additional 4th and 5th year for a higher amount of $34,000 per year for year 4 and 5. So at its inception, this frozen lemonade contract has been a 5-year contract with the possibility, based upon a review, of a 3-year extension.
Okay, and just had one other question. I know we had just passed several other contracts about the surfing and all, and those were originally a 5-year contract, and there was some discussion about the council to kind of bring that to 3 years because of, the future and whatnot.
Correct, sir. Those contracts were actually originally 3-year contracts across the board. I wanted personally, as the Director of Parks and Recreation, to bring them to 5-year contracts, just to make things easier for me, easier for the town and these businesses moving forward, and not having to come before the council within 3 years to start the whole process again. So the surf contracts had always been a 3-year contract.
Okay, but, so it's a sole owner now, it's no in between an old owner and a new owner, this is a sole owner.
Correct, it's the sole ownership, Miss Emily Bonanno. She owns the rights to the company. The storefront in Wakefield is her primary home, of her business.
Okay, thank you for the explanation.
You're welcome.
No questions? Okay. Anyone from the public? Mr. Zonferlo?
Hi, Paul Zonferlo, 7 Woodward Circle. I think the other thing is that it doesn't go up. Inflation's at about 8% right now, so it's flat 35,000, and it's 5 years is a long time, so there's no upward adjustment. So I think Councilor Ferrandi's idea that asking about a 3 versus a 5, and perhaps having some increases every year. I mean, I don't understand, I don't administer these contracts, so I don't understand why it would be bad for it to come back in a few years, but I would recommend that council consider that. Thank you.
Is anyone else from the public? Dr. Alba?
Yes, Dr. Al Alba, 24 Eagles Nest Terrace. My dad has always been a supporter of small businesses, and, she was a sole bidder. There were no other bids there, so, it's competition, so I say, we are getting money and from this business, which is, I think, a great thing. And our Director of Parks and Recreations, she's supporting it, and I think she's the expert in that area as well, so I say approve the bid. Thank you.
Okay, so now we can take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, aye. Motion passes 4-1. Motion by Councilor Lawler, seconded by Councilor Kopech. Motion passes 4-0. Next on the agenda is from the Fire Department. It's a motion to approve the piggybacking of the adoption agreement between the City of Providence, Rhode Island and Boundtree Medical LLC for the purchase of medical supplies for the Fire Department at the contract prices and discounts.
I'll move the motion.
I'll second it.
Any discussion on the council? Anyone? Anyone from the public? Okay, we can vote on it. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion by Councilor Cicilline Bonanno, seconded by Jill. Motion passes 5-0. Next on the agenda is a motion to approve the purchase of 3 portable radios and accessories for the Fire Department from Motorola Solutions, Inc., pursuant to the State of Rhode Island Master Price Agreement in the total amount of $18,294.72.
I'll move the motion.
I'll second.
Discussion? Anyone from the public? Can vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion by Counselor Cicilline Bonanno, seconded by Counselor Lawler. Motion passes 5-0. Next up from the Public Works Department is a motion to approve the removal and replacement of the Town Hall exterior stairway by engineering to be completed by Abcor Restoration Company, Inc., in the amount of $37,720, utilizing the General Construction Services contract. Do I have a
The
motion?
motion.
Second.
Okay. Discussion?
It's really needed.
Yeah.
Right, Jim?
Yeah.
Anyone from the public?
I'll
think-
speak
I
as
think Mr.
public
Tierney wants-
as
Okay, so,
It definitely is needed. We've had lots of complaints. We've all seen it as we go up and down it. And it will have to be taken from a chunk that was tentatively approved from the ARPA funding. But when this is redone, this would not affect if we did the facade of the building with additional funds through the bond or through capital projects. It wouldn't affect the facade in the front. That would still need to be repaired, and it is a safety hazard at this stage. So, thank you.
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion by Counselor Cicilline Bonanno, seconded by Counselor Ferrandi. Motion passes 5-0. Next is a motion to award the bid for road striping services to Safety Marking, Inc. at their quoted unit prices for the fiscal year 2022-23 and 2023 and 2024.
Move the motion.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Anyone from the public? See no, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion by by Counselor Cicilline Bonanno, seconded by Counselor Ferrandi. The motion passes 5-0. Next, from the Engineering Department, we have a motion to approve the contract amendment for additional services to design water system modifications to reduce disinfection byproducts and water age within our water system with Pari Corporation in the amount of $92,675,000.
I'll move the motion.
Second.
Discussion? Anyone from the public? I see, hold on.
Catherine.
Ms. Ciliberto?
Catherine Celebrato, 48 Earls Court. I just wonder why we're paying for this. Isn't this the water we get from Veolia that's coming to our homes, and for some reason we're paying extra money to disinfect it or whatever? Shouldn't we be expecting clean water to be coming to our homes, not that we have to put up some money here to fix a problem? Thank you.
Devin, do you want to take that?
Yes, when it enters our system, there's a certain standard that has to be met over the average of the year. And when it does meet the standard, when it enters the system, that's the problem.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? Motion by Counselor Cicilline Bonanno, seconded by Counselor Ferrandi. Motion passes 5-0. Next is a motion to approve the next 5-year contract extension, Fifth Amendment, third extended term, with Sinagro for waste transportation, treatment, and disposal services at the Scarborough wastewater treatment facilities. Do I have a
Move the
motion?
motion.
Second.
Discussion? Anyone from the public? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion by Counselor Cicilline Bonanno, seconded by Counselor Ferrandi. Motion passes 5-0. Next, from the Community Development Department, is a motion to authorize staff to write a letter of objection to CRMC requesting a public hearing relative to the replacement and extension of a dock located at 1201 Succotash Road.
I'll move the motion.
Second.
Any discussion?
It's a good motion.
Anyone from the public? Jim, did you want to comment?
Yeah, just so there's no misunderstanding with the public, this is a case where the Harbor Management Council and the Harbor Master both support the opposition to this, and they're asking for the council's support of that recommendation so that I can author a letter to CRMC, put it into the record that that's the council's wish to oppose this, especially to encroach onto any of the official navigation channels, which causes a life and safety issue, is the advisement of both those bodies. Thank you.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Motion by Councilor Cicilline Bonanno, seconded by Councilor Ferrandi. Motion passes 5-0. Next, from Information Technology Department, we have a motion to approve the purchase of one new live streaming system for the large boardroom from PMA Industries Incorporated in the amount of $11,800, utilizing the State of Rhode Island Master Price Agreement.
I'll move the motion.
Second.
Any discussion?
I just wanted to ask one question. Dan, this system does not allow for public input, right, from the live streaming? It's just available for people to see it?
That's correct. It'll be solely to YouTube.
Okay, so it's basically what happens here?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Any other council members? Anyone from the public? Ms. Celeberto?
Catherine Celeberto, 48 Rose Court. I remember this was approved in the past for $10,000, but we don't have anybody to operate the equipment. Did we finally hire somebody? Did somebody? No, we did not. Okay, so we're going to put equipment in, and who's going to operate it? I mean, I see the advertisement on the website, $100 a meeting, and nobody evidently is applying. Maybe we have to up it to $200 a meeting. I mean, it's important that these planning board and zoning board meetings are streamed out to the public. People are interested in them. If you have to pay $200, then put it out there for $200 so we get somebody to man the equipment. You got to put equipment in with nobody to man it. This makes no sense to me.
Oh, Dan said he was going to do it. It's supposed to be pretty. You can.
It did take a while to get this done, but when we spent the time to look at it, talking with the vendor, we were trying to find a solution that staff that already mans the meeting could take care of this. So the intent is it's literally push one button, push another button, and you're on your way. So that's where we're hoping it'll go. We'll see how it goes. So,
I have a quick question. So would you need staff to do that, or could somebody, like maybe the chairman, do that?
we're more thinking staff of community development, which he is not
Oh,
aware
he's
of
there.
yet.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
The
Thanks,
intent is to
Mike.
make this as easy as possible.
That sounds good.
Otherwise, there will be another staff member there to do it.
Right, okay, perfect.
Unsure who that will be.
Yeah. Thanks. All right, Dr. Alba, did you have your hand up?
Dr. Al Albert, 24 Eagles Nest Terrace. I know what I'm going to be stating is not, addressing this concern, but I do have another concern. And, in the past, we used to have the broadcast on Verizon or Cox, for TV. I realize we have a lot of seniors and a lot of people who might be technologically challenged. I don't know what the cost would be to have these town council, they're very important, and to have them put back on TV. So it's just a consideration to throw it out there, but if it's a nominal cost, I don't know how much it's going to be, but I think it's well worth whatever the cost would be. And if we could even apply for funding for that or grant money for that, just a consideration. Thank you.
Anyone else from the public? Seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Okay, motion by Councilor Cicilline Bonanno, seconded by Councilor Ferrandi. Motion passes 5-0. Next is a motion to approve the purchase of ThinkGuard's managed Office 365 backup and disaster recovery from ThinkGuard Total Data Security in the amount of $16,875 for a 3-year period, utilizing the Town of South Kingstown's agreement.
I'll move the motion.
Second.
Discussion from the council? Anyone from the public? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? And, motion by Councilor Cicilline Bonanno, seconded by Councilor Ferrandi. Motion passes 5-0. Next up is a motion to approve the renewal of the Mimecast email filtering and archiving service with Zones LLC in the amount of $17,276.97.
I'll move the motion.
Second.
Discussion from the council? Anyone from the public? Seeing none. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? So motion by Councilor Cicilline Bonanno, seconded by Councilor Ferrandi. Motion passes 5-0. Next up from the town clerk's office is a motion to approve a mobile food establishment license application for Peter Jarro's doing business as Sam's New York System, subject to state and local regulations.
I'll move the motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Anyone from the public?
Just have one question for the town clerk. Has all the necessary permits been given for this? Do they have all their state licenses and whatnot?
Yes.
This company?
Yes, they wouldn't be on the council agenda without it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? And motion by Councilor Cicilline Bonanno, seconded by Councilor Ferrandi. The motion passes 5-0. Next is a motion to direct the town clerk regarding increasing the number of authorized liquor licenses in 2023.
I'll move the motion.
Second.
Any discussion from the council?
I don't really see any reason for increasing the numbers, unless there's something I don't know.
To my understanding, and Sarah explained it to us, is this is just a standard every single
Right,
year. We
right,
just do
right.
it. There's
Just
nobody in the wings. It's
Yeah, just in case you want
I
to.
don't think we need to, though. That's,
Doesn't mean you're going to.
This comes out every year, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyone from the public? Ms. Ciliberto?
Catherine Celebrato, 48 Earls Court. I'd really like somebody to do some research on this. We're a small town. We have an awful lot of liquor licenses. South Kingston has twice the population we have. They have 2 liquor stores. We have 4. They have the same number of liquor licenses, taverns and all of that. It's just, we just seem to have so many of them. Do we have more than most towns our size or not? And just making this motion every year always invites people to come in and ask for another liquor license. And the next thing you know, we're adding another one, and another one, and another one. I mean, how many is too much for a little town like this? Somebody has to address this at some point. Thank you.
Dr. Alba?
Yes, Dr. Al Alba, 24 Eagles Nest Terrace. I'm supportive of small businesses and supply and demand. I don't see any more driving fatalities in Narragansett, driving while under the influence, in comparison to other towns, cities or towns. If you have a restaurant, I know restaurants, it makes it very more profitable. We have a short season in Narragansett. If they can apply for a liquor license, it's going to sustain them by bringing in extra income. If people are going to drink responsibly, I'm all for that. So I say, yes, let's continue with this here. And every time a motion comes forward, you use due diligence to decide if it's worthy or not to approve or disapprove the license. So I recommend continue with this. Thank you.
Anyone else from the public? Seeing no more. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion by Councilor Cicilline Bonanno, seconded by Councilor Ferrandi, and the motion passes 5-0. Next is a motion to authorize the town clerk to advertise upcoming appointments to boards, committees, and commissions.
I'll move the motion.
Second.
Discussion? Anyone from the public? Seeing no comments. Oh, sorry. Ms. Ciliberto? Okay.
Catherine Celebrato, 48 Earls Court. Are we limited to the number of times we can advertise for these? because I don't think the word's getting out. You know, we have to make sure the word gets out so people know that there's vacancies and what these boards and commissions entail. And you can't put it in the paper like once or twice a year. We really have to start spreading the word, I think. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed? A motion by Counselor Cicely Bonanno, seconded by Counselor Ferrandi. The motion passes 5-0. Next, moving on to Town Council agenda items. The first one is a motion to adopt a resolution authorizing bonds and to direct the town manager to present possible prioritized projects and project schedule timeframe for the road improvement, public buildings, and other public infrastructure for the $20 million bond that was passed overwhelmingly on November 8th, 2022.
I'll move the motion.
Second the motion.
Any discussion?
So obviously, the residents of Narragansett overwhelmingly passed this referendum, so I just wanted to make sure, the last council, we had a discussion, and the staff had worked on projects and what the priorities were, but I thought it would be important that with the new council to review that, to see if anything changed as far as what those projects would be. I think it was it 15 million for the infrastructure and 5 million for the public buildings? Was that the split?
On the bond, yes.
Yeah, so I just wanted to review that at some point with this council. Obviously, the residents have fully supported this and would like to see, you know, the infrastructure of the roads, the public buildings, and some of the systems updated. So I just want to know what that looks like and just when that's going to happen and so forth.
Susan, you don't want to authorize the bond, you want to just come up with a list of
Well,
projects?
the motion is to authorize the bond, but then come back to give us the priorities. So we have to release the money for the bond, and I don't know that the project's going to change that much, Jim. I mean, do you have an idea at this point?
There will be some changes because some of the ARPA funding that was earmarked for some capital projects, for instance, the 126,000 that we had taken from, the council had approved to take from the ARPA funds that were assigned to one of the fire station renovations to buy the engine because it was absolutely needed. So that will have to be replaced. Some of the ARPA funds that were initially earmarked for the HVAC for this entire building have been taken out for multiple studies. There was the dredging study for Fourth that was $127,000, $84,000 for the bike path study. There's another one pending that'll go before the council soon. So those came out of that funding. So that infrastructure, I'm going to put in there to recommend to the council that the bond money for building infrastructure that was, you know, removed for necessary funds that the council approved for ARPA things to be put back toward that again.
All right, so it sounds like there might be some changes, so I think it will be good to have it come back with the priorities for the town.
I just have a question, Jim. This is to authorize the whole amount or just the initial part of the amount? Because I know it's taken out in pieces, correct, or dollar amounts?
Yes, the sponsor would have to answer that question, Steve.
Okay.
But you're correct. We normally wouldn't.
Yeah, you can't take the whole thing in 1 year, obviously, and you have to prioritize some of these projects to the limit of what you would expect to have in, you know, that particular year.
Yes.
Well, and I think bond council will give us recommendations on the financial spending of the bonds and how they're authorized. So I just want to direct Jim to do that with obviously with David Ferrara's advice as well.
Certainly.
Anyone from the public? Ms. Alberto?
Catherine Celebrato, 48 Earls Court. When the town takes out bonds like this, I don't know why the residents can't be prioritized to purchase them if they want to. Now, right now, the interest rate is pretty high on municipal bonds, and there might be people in town who want to purchase some of these bonds. And I don't know, if that can be done. Well, I do know it can be done. It was done with the state system, the pension system at one point. So I would like to see some type of vehicle in some way that town residents could be able to purchase these bonds. You have to talk to bond counsel about that, I guess. I used to purchase these kind of bonds through Citizens Bank in the past. You know, they used to release them to different banks. I'm just thinking that maybe some of the residents might want to purchase these bonds, especially given the interest rate we're going to have to pay on these. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Mr. Zanfrillo?
Paul Zanfrillo, 7 Women's Circle. I'm just curious, there's a clause in here about public buildings, and would that include the library? Because that would seem to be a way to backdoor more money to the library from the APRA. And I don't know if that could be excluded from the list or not, but I'd just be curious to know if that includes the library or not.
Anyone else from the public?
Can anyone answer the question? On
I
staff?
don't know that the public buildings have been determined on that list that you presented to the last council, or has the library had the opportunity to be a part of that? I don't know. I mean, when you worked on it with the staff, Jim, did the library people have any voice on that, or did they ask?
On the bond?
Yeah, on the list of priorities when you did with the staff, just, you know, what people, the infrastructure, the systems and the building, you did the town hall, did the library at any point come to you and ask?
No one from the library board has communicated with me.
Okay, all right, so at this point, that doesn't seem to be an idea, but it could be in the future if they may be asked, I don't know. I don't know if that answers Mr. Zamfrillo's question, but it seems like it's not a yes or no.
That
And
would
I don't
be-
think the list is, right? I mean, it's a suggested prioritized list, but it's not written in stone at this point, right?
Those are the prioritized lists based on the town staff, for instance, with the infrastructure for the roads. We stand by the decision of the engineer, their recommendations. We forward those to the council for final approval. Just like the bond money, whatever amount is issued and what portion is issued, as far as what is used for the infrastructure, that would not be the staff that would decide that. We'd make recommendations to the council because clearly they'll all be over that $2,500 threshold, and the council will have to make a decision as far as which buildings in town and which roads.
Good
But you'll
enough.
have the recommendations from the staff.
Thanks.
Yep.
So before we vote on this, I just want to clarify, we're not voting to authorize the $20 million bond. I mean, if Chris was here, I think she'd be devastated to the finance director. We're going to be taking a look, which I agree, Susan, at a list of projects, and then we're going to take chunks of that as we go through.
Yes,
So-
based on the bond council and Chris's
Okay.
recommendation, yeah.
So do we need to change this motion then? Because it's saying to residents to authorize bonds to direct the town manager. We're not
Well,
really
we-
authorizing the $20 million right now. We're asking for projects, and then we're going to ask bond council and our town managers and town finance and director's advice on how to proceed.
I mean, so you could add that to that, because we do want to authorize the 20 million, and we'll go on their guidance on how to chunk it out. So, I mean, we could modify the motion to the projects and then consult bond counsel for this authorization of the bond, I guess. I mean, actually, James, what do you think is, should we stick to the projects and then do the bond? I mean, I did work with bond counsel on this, I do want you to know that. David Ferrara, I mean, it's not a
Right.
secret.
I don't think there's a time issue with this, so I think it'd probably be best if we might continue this to the next meeting so that we get clarity from David Ferrara to make sure that, you know, if the bonds are issued, it doesn't cause an issue for Chris Wilson, and the projects might be more clarified by then. I think that's the wisest thing
Yeah,
to do at
I
this
mean,
point.
I'm happy to do that. Again, David helped me with the motion, so he's aware of the authorization of the bond. So, but I'm happy to hold off until he gives us guidance on the actual spending of the 20 million. But again, want to get the projects at least out of this tonight, just so we know what we're doing.
We have already begun that. Some of it's already in place. It'll be amended, as I stated earlier, based on some of the factors I stated. But yeah, we'll continue to work on that no matter what.
So I can modify the motion just for the priority projects and take out the funding piece, and then we can come back with that at the next council meeting after I talk with Dave again, or the town talks with Dave.
Or is that just a motion to continue it and then amend it the next
Well,
one? Is that what he's, I wasn't sure.
We could do either or.
It's
It
up to
doesn't
you.
matter.
I
Do you
think-
want, do you want to have some kind of list by that next date, or do you want to just continue this with, to get more information from David to make sure we're on the right path?
We can just continue the whole thing, but obviously you're working on the projects, so that's fine. I'll just put it back on next meeting. That's fine, so I can just pull it.
Are you going to pull it? Okay.
Yeah,
so
that way,
pulling,
and
okay,
you'll just
she's
see it again
pulling.
at the next
Okay,
meeting in
sounds
January.
good. Okay, so we don't have to take any votes on that. I do see Dr. Alba with his hand up, so I will take his comment.
Thank you, Dr. Al Alba, 24 Eagles Nest Terrace, Narragansett, Rhode Island. Thank you, Councilwoman Cicilline Bonanno. I think you guys are doing good due diligence in regards to clarifying some of the questions that were brought up. So we do have more clarity, and I think that was great advice by our town solicitor to just take a step back and bring it back up. The one question I do have where I was thinking about this is, in the past, when I went to vote, and on major bond issues like this, did all of us vote for this? Was this this was on the ballot? We all approved this already,
Yes,
correct?
overwhelmingly.
Overwhelmingly,
yes,
okay,
yes.
great.
This is for the taxpayers.
Right, taxpayers. No, so I think it's a great thing, and I think it's great that we are going to have some clarification on where those monies are going to be used. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so that motion was pulled. So then moving on to the next motion, which is a motion to schedule a work session with the Library Board of Trustees to provide a status update on all aspects of the library project. This motion was put on by Councilor Lawler. Do you want to get in?
Let me move the motion first, right?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. If somebody seconds
Yep.
it, then we can bring it to Jill.
You want a second, Steve?
A second motion?
Okay.
So this is just a really basic motion to go ahead and have a conversation with the Library Board of Trustees and the Town Council. We have 2 new members of the council. Get the town up to date, get us up to date. I know that the board was here one of the last meetings, and they had mentioned that they were expecting a good amount of grant money to come in fourth quarter. So this will allow that opportunity to come in, and the town can get a good idea of the project that many people are very excited about. So there is a date suggested here of February 6th. So the idea is to have everyone here on the town council submit in advance our questions to the town manager's administrative assistant, so we can make sure the library board has ample time to be able to know what we'll be looking for and move it from there.
Jill, did they agree to that date on February 6th, or do
That's
they
just a
not know?
suggested date that we had.
So they don't know about it, or they do know about it?
I'm not aware if they know about it or don't know about it, but that's just a suggested date that we had on the agenda item.
Any other council members?
I just would say that we have been getting regular updates, as things have gone forward on all aspects of the library build. So, and I just remember, as I'm sure Eva remembers, that we actually met with the director of the library and with the head of the board of trustees when we first came on board to understand what the project was and everything. So we just had we just had an information session, and I actually did that with everybody here at one point or another. So, I mean, you might want to do that first, just to get familiar with the whole project.
So,
Randy.
go ahead, Steve, do you want to go, and then I'll go?
Well, I think the work session would be, I think it'd be a good informational thing just to kind of know where the project is and what the future's holding, that kind. I know they meet with the staff, from what I can understand regularly. There's a inside committee with the staff members and all, but personally, I'd like to have a work session just because now it's getting close to, we could see some activity, maybe we can get some more information about it.
So in the last 2 years, we've had a number of presentations, they've had open houses, and they've been available to meet with. And I kind of like Deb's idea that if there's information that you don't have that you need, you can sit with Chris Wilson, or you could sit with somebody at the library. I think to have a workshop, we designed, and now we're into the construction phase, so I don't know a lot about construction, but we have a signed agreement under construction, so we're like 12, 11 months into having a library, so I don't know what information you might want to have, but I don't know if we need to do a whole thing, maybe you and Steve.
I think the town would like to know, though, Susan. I
the
think a
town
lot
does
of people are.
You-
Well,
you thi-
well, just a 1 second, though. You did have the library board come often, but they didn't give specific information. I know the last council gave a paper loan. We're getting to the point of our fiscal year beginning. We're going to be looking at budgeting. We just had a great meeting with the school committee about budgeting. And this is a big project, it's a very important project. And I heard it from every single person here over the last 2 years. It's 5.8 and not a penny more. But I think that the town deserves to really have a good handle about the project that, again, they're excited about. Last meeting, we all voted to waive all the fees for the building and the fire permits. So, we need to move the project forward, and there's nothing better than shining light on it to get the town all behind it. I would think the library board would love to be able to be here and explain to the town their dream is coming true.
Except that's been going on. That information has been
But it hasn't
presented
been
over and over
but it
again. In
hasn't been-
detail,
it
in
hasn't
detail.
been in detail.
Okay,
Yes, it
so
has. Yes,
anyone
actually
from
it
the public wishing to comment? Dr. Alba?
Dr. Al Alba, 24 Eagles Nest Terrace. Yes, I'm a strong supporter of the library. I wrote many, many letters. In fact, when we had this place flooded with individuals, I wrote like a 5-page letter, and we had about 4 or 5 different people reading the letter out that I generated, and people come up to me and say, "Thank you for the advocacy for the library. I really appreciate you clarifying things." So I'm a strong supporter of the library. I'm also fiscally conservative, and I think having a system of checks and balances never hurts. I think it does good due diligence, keeps everyone honest, and I know we do have a signed contract and whatnot, but I think transparency is always a good thing. So I would be in favor of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Seeing none, we can take a vote on this. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Nay.
2, 3, 2. Okay. This is motion by Councilor Cicilline Bonanno, seconded by Councilor Ferrandi. The motion passes 3-2. Last on the agenda is a motion to introduce, read, pass, and accept as a first reading an amendment to an ordinance change start time of regular council meetings from 7:30 to 6:30.
I'll move the motion.
Second the motion.
Okay, this one comes from me. So the last council we had, this came up in the past, this just a start time. I know there have been many individuals out in the public that I've spoken to that actually had stated that they would like it to be an earlier start time. They thought the 7:30 was kind of a late start time to start the meetings. And I did, not that we have to follow anything that any other municipality does, but I did do a search of times, and there were a lot of like 5:30, 6 p.m., 6:30 time starts. So I just was going to open it up for discussion to the council. We'll start with Councilor Lawler.
Yes, I like the idea. I think the 6:30 start time is a good place to start.
Councilor Cicilline Bonanno.
So I'm not opposed to it, I just worry, I'm retired, I'm not working, but I worry about the working people that have, get home at 4:30, 5 o'clock, want to grab a bite to eat and then come to a meeting. I also worry about the council, if we have executive session before, if it's at 6:30, we might have to come now at 5. I know it's probably really helpful to the staff, and I know Janet stays really, throughout the time, and sometimes Mike DeLuca, and I appreciate that, but I think for the residents of the town that hold jobs, that get out of work at 4:30, 5 o'clock, it's 6:30's kind of tight. I'd like to amend it, maybe 7 seems reasonable. It would give us an opportunity to do some executive work before if we had to. Still, we shave off a half hour. I mean, the council has been 7:30 for 14 years that I've been on, but I think probably 20 years beyond that. So it's worked for all these years, and I think it's because of that executive or meetings in the front, workshops or whatever, interviews. So And I haven't heard anybody say, oh, other than the councils, oh, I wish we were getting out early. I worry about the residents and the working people, but I mean, I'm opposed to 7 o'clock, but 6:30 is kind of early.
Councilor Ferrandi?
I don't know what I'll do if I can't get here at 7:30. I can barely make it, but no, only
That's
kidding.
good.
No, it's kind of a matter of tradition, I think, at 7:30, but it does let it go on a lot longer sometimes, depending on what's on the meeting. If you have a very efficient council, there's not a lot of controversial things, it moves a little quicker. I wouldn't have an issue if it was 7 PM, maybe a half an hour either way would be, it's kind of splitting it in half. Maybe some people are used to the 7:30, they could probably get used to 6:30, but, I mean, I don't know if a half an hour really does that much difference, but it's at least a half an hour. I don't have to have it that way, but I mean, that would be maybe a suggestion I would consider.
Councilor Copeland?
I have a question. What would that do to public hearings? Would that still stay at 8 o'clock, or would we back that up too?
I think it'd be backed up.
Yeah. I would agree with the 7. I really think that, for some folks who do want to come to these meetings, that's a little bit, 6:30 is a little bit tight. I don't mind getting home early. That would be fine. But I think if we went with that compromise, that probably would be just a little bit better than I think 6:30 is just a little bit early.
Okay, is there anyone from the public wishing to comment? Dr. Alba?
Yes, Dr. Al Alba, 24 Eagles Nest Terrace. I've been able to attend. I work 12 to 7 shifts, so I've been able to attend because of this time. So I won't be able to voice my thoughts and what many people come up to me and say, could you present this? Could you discuss about this? During open forum. Now, another option might be is if you do it at 7, maybe we can have a portion of the open forum in the beginning, and for people who can't make it at 7 o'clock for the open forum, allow them to present at the end of the meeting. And I think, that might be some kind of compromise, but otherwise, like I said, I will not be able to attend basically the meetings. By the time I get here, the meeting will be well underway, and you probably won't be seeing too much of me. Not due to apathy, but due to logistics of me getting here. Thank you.
Anyone else from the public wishing to comment? Mr. Lynch?
Dennis Lynch, Central Street, Narragansett. So I'm a big supporter of earlier rather than later. So I think of all of the meetings where I've come to where the most important topics are at the tail end of the meeting. And I think of all the meetings where every 15 minutes someone has to say, can I extend the meeting from 11 to 11:15 to 11:30? There's a truism here that a lot of working people with families, and when I was younger, couldn't make it because you're busy doing every other thing after work, and that's a great thing to have public access and TV and YouTube available. So 6:30 to 9:30 is, a reasonable board meeting time or town council meeting time. So I think what you trade off to get people to be able to stay, or, many people come in here after some of the early stuff to be able to participate in the meaty, controversial matters that come later in the agenda. So it's no time is perfect. I like the 6:30. Thank you.
Anyone else from the public? Does any council member want to amend?
Well, yeah.
Make it 7. Seems like it seems like 3 want 7, so I'm happy to move 7 as well.
Okay, somebody want to make a motion to amend?
So we just have to do an amendment, right? That's right. So.
I'd like, oh, go ahead.
And this is, okay, so that, what we would amend it to is that the town council introduce, read, and pass, and accept as a first reading an amendment to the ordinance to change start time of regular council meetings from 7:30 to 7 o'clock.
Okay, so I have a,
I'll second that.
yeah, okay, so first by. Okay, any other discussion on this amended motion? No, in public? Okay, so the motion's to introduce, read, pass, and accept as a first reading an amendment to ordinance to change the start time of the regular council meetings from 7:30 to 7 p.m. It was motioned by Councilor Kopek and seconded by Councilor Lawler. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Eva, sorry, so you have to,
Oh, I'm sorry, going back to the motion, so a motion, I'll go back. So a motion to pass as amended, to pass the motion as amended.
So moved.
Do I have a
So
second?
second.
Okay, so motion by Councilor Lawler, seconded by Councilor Ferrandi. Motion passes 5-0. Or all in favor? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion to adjourn the meeting by Councilor Councilor Cicilline Bonanno, seconded by Councilor Ferrandi. Motion passes 5-0. Wishing everybody happy